Warning, the media that is about to play will most definitely contain graphic and foul language. You probably won't hear the word clunge and cockwomble, but other American swear words intended solely for entertainment. The opinions shared here may not be shared by everyone, and in some instances will troll you and the rest of the internet. Not intentionally, of course. If you are easily offended, don't have a sense of humour, or have your head that far up your own arse you need a glass stomach to see out, this probably isn't for you. But for everyone else, have a good time, and as always, stay creative.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bryan SilverBax Show. This is my podcast where I talk to people doing cool stuff. Today we're going to talk with Dan. This podcast is brought to you by Capone Streams. Stick around. What's up, Dan?
Oh, it's August in Atlanta. I'm a nerd, so DreadCon is what's up.
And the temperature, man. The past couple of days have been like 100 or something, man. It's crazy. My air conditioner can't keep up.
You know, the week I moved here to Atlanta, it was 105 as a high every day that week.
God dang. How long ago was that?
I kind of thought that was the standard. So sometimes when we would get the highs in the 90s for the whole summer, or 95s, I'm like, it's cool. In Atlanta.
It's just so muggy. I don't think I would mind it if I was either A, at a beach, or if I was like B, if I was not humid, like feeling like someone had sprayed me with a water bottle.
Well, I am an old guy, so I like to stay in my air-conditioned room.
Yes.
At my very comfortable 69 degrees.
If I could only afford, I want to, but I've had to bump mine up to 71 just for bill purposes.
Well, so my new building, where I live, the electricity is so much cheaper than any place I've ever lived before, and I don't know whether it's the fact that it is mostly, you know, a giant concrete and stone edifice. That's a good word, edifice.
I like that. I don't even know fully what it means.
It means building.
All right. Well,
I mean,
cool.
It's just a fancy-ass way of saying.
Do you have any shade over there? Like, do any of the other buildings cast shadows to kind of keep it cool?
Well, here is the building is shaped like the letter H.
Uh-huh.
And my arm of the letter H is on the eastern side, so we stopped getting sun exposure. You know, about 10, maybe 1 o'clock, the sun is we're completely in shadow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think that helps a lot.
I bet it does.
And I, you know, again, I'm not an engineer, but, you know, I have played with Legos.
All right.
So
well, speaking of what you're not, why don't you go ahead and educate everybody else who you are and why people should take note of who you are?
I believe people should take note of who I am.
Just for being cool.
Mostly because I have the coolest friends in the world, and I get to talk about the coolest stuff in the world. It's not a whole lot about me. It has to do with the fact that I have found some extraordinary things. And the most extraordinary thing I've discovered in my adult life is DragonCon.
Yeah.
And I am the media engagement director and official spokesperson for DragonCon. I have been called the voice and face of DragonCon. I like to think of me as everybody's favorite uncle. And we're just happy to have you at DragonCon.
So you said you're the media relations for DragonCon. DragonCon's been going on for what, 30, 25 years?
I am hang tight. We got a big change this year. I'm media engagement for DragonCon now.
Media engagement.
I'm all strategic.
All right.
Yeah.
So that includes like Facebook and social media as well, right?
No, actually, that is handled by social media. It's a completely different group. What it really means is that I get to do all the really cool stuff when it comes to reporters at DragonCon.
Oh.
And somebody else handles the paperwork.
So you're the on-air personality.
I jokingly called myself talent yesterday during one of our meetings. But, you know, to a degree, yeah, I am I'm the public facing,
All
and
right.
I've been doing exactly the same job with the responsibilities of actually processing all the paperwork for 500 reporters coming to DragonCon, handling all the emails. And the truth is, it got kind of big because DragonCon's kind of big.
All right. So
we're expecting. Go ahead, Brian.
If I could
Ask me a
equate
question.
this, I used to be a police officer, and we had what was called a PIO, which is the police
Sure.
officer whose responsibility it is to talk to Fox 5. Even though they had nothing to do with the case, they are basically the face of the police department. So whenever you watch the news, you always see Detective so-and-so, and you're like, dude, that guy works every case. He's just the face. And so that's kind of your role. You're the face. Anybody wants to do an interview about DragonCon, they're talking to you.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a couple of exceptions. If somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to do an interview about how little kids really have a lot of fun at DragonCon," and we say, "Hang on one second," and we call a family that comes to DragonCon that we know would represent the rest of the community well, and we introduce the reporter to that family.
All right. So
If
you
somebody
also
comes to me
curate
and
then.
yeah. So here's the way. Let me tell you a story, and we haven't even. I don't know if we're talking about DragonCon or about my job at DragonCon, but
Dude,
I'll
I'm
give
talking
you
about
this one
whatever's
story.
fun.
Got it. Oh, so you'll love this story. So my first year doing this, I did something nobody else at DragonCon had ever did. Was I got us on CNN.
Holy cow. Well, that's
And,
local. You would have thought it happened before you got there.
You would have thought that too, but I'd been sending out some feelers, and I finally got somebody to put me on with Frederica Whitfield on Saturday morning during DragonCon, and so that was pretty exciting. And the next year, we had the offer for me to go on during Friday afternoon during the prime time or during the news time, and they called me and said, well, actually, we're going to swap that out. We're going to have Edward James Olmos on. I hope you're not hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, it's a choice between this guy from the suburbs going on to talk about DragonCon on CNN International or Academy Award winner Admiral Adama going on. Please take Admiral Adama. I've helped coordinate this. I have done my job. And that's my job. My job is to get people talking about DragonCon.
Now, when you say that's your job, is that your 9 to 5 job, or is this something you do just out of passion?
It's definitely out of passion. I'm an IT project manager in my day job.
All right. Did you recently get married?
Oh, no, I got engaged.
Recently engaged. I thought I was going to say congratulations, but I wasn't sure which one it was.
And then I had to cancel the engagement because I found out that we were operating under false pretenses. That's a story for another podcast.
Wow.
It is, by the way, a hilarious story.
So should I say I'm sorry?
Because, I'm sorry?
Should I say that I'm sorry, or should I say congratulations that you are no longer?
No, I you don't want to talk about violence in today's world, but there was definitely a bullet that was dodged.
Okay.
So I think we're all comfortable there.
All right, then we'll say congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're true, Pat. You are a nerd at heart. That's how you started this whole. Did you attend DragonCon prior to becoming involved with it, or was it at the same time?
Well, let me just say that I have gone through phases. I've always been a science fiction reader and fantasy reader, and I've always enjoyed films. Ray Harryhausen from the earliest age. No matter how old I am, if there's a Ray Harryhausen movie on, I'm going to find a way to play hooky. And then somebody invented the DVR, so I didn't have to. And then somebody invented online, so I didn't have to. But that was the type of guy I was. But most of the '90s. I spent watching college football, doing woodworking, actively involved as a parent. And my children, saw Starship Troopers. Independence Day was a major family outing for the family. One time, my daughter bought a one of those $3 DVDs at the gas station, or maybe the
Okay.
CVS. Yeah, you go to CVS. There's a bin of
the bargain
so she
bin.
bought this. The bargain bin. That's what. Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear. So the bargain bin. She gets it home. She puts it in the DVD player downstairs, and she comes running upstairs screaming, "It's broken!" Because she had gotten a $3 DVD of This Island Earth, but they did not have the Mystery Science Theater 3000 robots making fun of it. She thought she had bought the Misty movie, but she had actually bought the classic film.
All right, so
and the child was 7 at the time, maybe 8.
So growing up in your
we raised
household,
her right.
that means you watched a lot of Mystery Science Theater that she just thought that's the way stuff's supposed to come.
Oh, but it was her favorite too. Yes. We watched enough Mystery Science Theater, specifically the Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie.
Yeah.
Featured This Island Earth, for that to be the way she thought it was. But my kids were also funny. I will say this. This has nothing to do with DragonCon, but this is a good story. My kids were all funny. They were the cross between the Animaniacs and the Von Trapp family. I had 3 of them.
Now you say past tense.
So that
You're saying that
well,
past
I
tense.
had 3 little kids.
But I'm saying, are they not funny?
They are hilariously funny.
Now still, because you said they were funny, so that would mean that they're no longer
they
funny?
were funny kids.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, are you doing the good feathers with me?
No.
Animaniacs?
No, I'm just.
Oh, okay. What do you mean I'm funny? Am I funny? Ha ha! Do I make you laugh? So, no. My kids are still hilarious. One of them is in PR. One of them lives in England, which is always funny, and the other is actually trying to be a comedian. So,
right on.
They've kept the comedy all the way through.
So you
public relations. Go ahead.
What are your largest fandoms? I think Star Trek is one of the largest things that you're a fan of, as far as sci-fi goes. Is that a true statement?
Did you say Star Trek?
Yeah, your profile picture has you looking like Ferengi.
No, in fact, yeah, that was because Wayne made me look like that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, my biggest fandoms are 1970s Marvel Comics.
Oh, wow.
Epic fantasy. Love epic fantasy. I love, give me those 800-page books. Love the works of of Isaac Asimov. Not Robert Asimov. That was his cousin, the accountant. Isaac Asimov. Every summer I used to do a 14-book read of all his space, empire, and robot books in the proper.
You said in the proper order? Uh-oh, did I lose you?
So, I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, I thought...
Yeah, there's multiple orders, but basically the order of the story is the way to do it. But, so I'm a big nerd. I love TV. I love TV more than most Americans are willing to admit. They love TV. I recently marathoned a show I hadn't seen in a long time called Middleman. So I'm not afraid to say I like the obscure things.
Well, those are the fun ones.
My buddies used to call me my buddies called me the greatest expert on 4-episode TV shows that they had ever met.
How many?
I still wait for the return of Brothers and Sisters.
Brother, see, that's one I
which
don't know.
Which was a knockoff of Animal House. It was it was literally maybe 6 episodes. 1978 ripoff of Animal House.
Huh. Now, with
It
all
was not good.
with your multiple, with how much you like sci-fi and how much you like everything Dragon Con, do you have a passion? Are you a writer? Are you an artist? Are you a sculptor? Do you harness your nerddom to create something?
I am always running a novel through my head at any given time. I wrote a young adult fantasy book, and but I wrote it 20 years ago. Never got it published. Now, by today's standards, there's no way this would count as a young adult book. This is like a book for 5-year-olds, because back then it was written for 12-year-olds, and there's it's just not gory and not emotionally draining enough to count as young adult.
Have you ever thought about revisiting that and like doing a Kickstarter or self-publishing or something?
Well, first off, it would have to be a chapter book because, like I said, what I have as emotional tension, it does not count as emotional tension anymore. It's like watching family dramas from the 50s. They don't quite seem engaging.
Yeah.
But I got a couple other things on the fire that I pick up every so often. But probably my big passion is for the past few years has been my Seriously Dan project. I finally put that to bed, but it was a radio and podcast dedicated to nerd culture, offering love, encouragement, and practical advice to the nerd community and beyond. And
now, why would you have put that to bed out of curiosity?
Oh, probably because it was economically untenable, and my day job is actually pretty lucrative. So,
okay.
Sometimes reality gets in the way. God bless podcasters like you and like me, but it's often hard to monetize this, and when your time is limited, you have to make choices. And as it was, every year I had to give up Seriously Dan. Probably the second week of June, I had to just walk away from it because DragonCon picks up.
Oh, so a lot of podcasters, like I'm trying to maybe offer a way to continue to do it, but some podcasters do what they call seasons. Like they will say, we can release episodes for the first half of the year, and that's season 1. And then, DragonCon and Con season picks up, and you can take a hiatus, and it's acceptable because you've deemed your show as seasonal, and then that way the viewers and listeners and stuff don't fall off.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you a couple of things. First, I actually called my year seasons. So, I would say season 1, episode 1, season 2, episode 3, season 4, episode 5. And 2, I use a lot of that creative energy in the DragonCon Media Relations podcast, where I get to interview, because I love interviewing people. I love being interviewed. I love talking. I love conversation. So this DragonCon Media Relations podcast has allowed me to interview track directors from DragonCon, interview DragonCon other attendees. Hopefully I'll have an interview real soon with getting ready for the convention, final everything with the convention co-chairs.
Yeah, we're just we're like a week and a half away.
Yes, it is. No, it's 2 weeks. Well, it's 2 weeks from recording date.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not afraid to record at DragonCon and edit at DragonCon. So, we've already got that in our plans. But the other thing is on a private note, because I feel like this is a really open forum, so I can do it,
Oh, yeah.
So on a private note, I do have a project that I'm working on because I love talking so much. It is a project focused on talking in the workplace, and it's called Work Lingo.
Okay.
And it's a little unformed, and it's about everything you need to communicate with your coworkers, peers, subordinates, your seniors, to get the job done better and protect yourself, and kind of techniques for how to navigate the nasty, nasty waters of America's business world while still having fun.
So are you going to would this be like a educational DVD that you're going to sell to businesses and say, hey, here's a little program about not getting, don't get in trouble, or show your coworkers so that we can have a safe work environment?
And I mean, that would be a really cool thing. What I really want is this would be my vision, and I'm sharing my vision with your audience, Brian. I put out a podcast, somebody listens to it, somebody goes to a friend and goes, holy shit, hey, have you heard this guy talk about how to deal with an annoying coworker? He was talking about annoying coworkers who specifically knock the desk all the time and hits your stuff. Nobody talks about that. And he's hilarious, but he brought in experts to talk about the annoying coworker. Or, hey, I really need a raise, or I'm going to be homeless. How do I have that conversation with the boss? Or, hey, you really need to shape up your work, or you're going to be unemployed and homeless. How do I tell that to my subordinate? Those are the type of things that I want to cover in a funny way, but also in a way that somebody could walk away with, oh man, that made me laugh, but I better think about that.
Yeah, I'm as you're describing it, I'm thinking like it sounds like it could be a small scale stand-up comedy routine, or
that is the basis of my life.
Or it could be something like Dr. Steve Brule. When I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Steve Brule, but it's John C. Reilly, and he's on Adult Swim. Like, it's just, little facts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, well, I mean, my basis is actually, or my inspiration is a female writer called Deborah Tannen, who wrote a book about 15 years ago called Talking 9 to 5. And she's an expert about talking. And her book actually made huge impressions on my career.
Oh, really?
There's things that happen in the workplace that we don't think about it, but I love all types of communications. I love my ballyhoo. What I do for Dragon Con, I think, is an important part of promoting the community and supporting the convention. And I do it because of my love of William Castle and P.T. Barnum that went before me. People who knew how to put on a show about a show.
Yeah, you have to sell tickets. You have to get asses in the door. Otherwise, why do it?
Oh, absolutely. And, when we're talking about Dragon Con, when I started, we were just getting respectability within the city, which we hadn't had before. And by within the city, I mean within the mayor's office, within city council, within the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, within the merchant community that's around us. You would not have found those first couple of years I was doing it. You would not have found the banners up and down Peachtree Street.
Yeah, it probably would have been, was it a much shorter parade route? Like, the city actually helps now, from what I've seen. Like, they know that people fly in, they're getting tourist dollars, and so they're trying to facilitate money coming in.
Yeah, and the clout it means to the city. The last mayor made a comment during a presentation I was at where he said that when the film industry came to Georgia, they found people who knew how to make costumes and do makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably no other city in the country where they would have found that community. But we have, we have so much fun. And I started working the help desk. I started 3 years telling people where bathrooms were. So.
All right, you'll have to forgive my fucking stupid dog.
No, that's okay. I had a truck.
I can't. I don't know what chihuahuas exist for. I just cannot. I don't know what purpose they serve, other than being like other animals' food. All right, so for Dragon Con, There was recently, I don't know about how many years ago, that somebody like who founded Dragon Con got in trouble, and it turned into like a whole stinky situation because he did some bad stuff. Did you have to address that issue with like news agents? Did you have to try to like, hey, sorry about that guy, but we're still cool? Did you have to do any of that?
Well, first off, I'll tell you, I was not his media relations director. I wasn't handling his public relations, so I really can't talk about him at all.
Okay.
I can tell you that DragonCon has continued to grow and contribute to the community.
In spite of that dude's actions.
Yeah, well, just because we've done it, because we're awesome.
Well, of course, I didn't mean it as in there's no awesomeness to be had. You're like, but what I'm saying was that Dragon Con is so awesome that even with this person, Dragon Con will still shine, regardless.
Yes, I absolutely. Dragon Con will shine.
Now,
well, let me tell you why Dragon Con's going to shine.
All right.
The real stars of Dragon Con, even though we bring in celebrity guests, are the attendees. The attendees themselves make Dragon Con shine. They make Dragon Con what it is. It's different than anything else.
It's an experience.
We're not a trade show. Yeah, we are a participatory, experiential, existentialist, just wonderful daydream.
Yeah. I really love Dragon Con, and I know that, and it's so large that it can't be housed in one area, and it's not even limited to just the hours of operation for the exhibitors and stuff like that. Like it's a whole weekend of meetups and nighttime trivia and dance competitions and stuff outside of the Dragon Con. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, even local businesses.
Got it. But let's not confuse other events that occur during Dragon Con with Dragon Con. Dragon Con takes place in the 5 host hotels. It takes place in the America's Mart. There's other things that happen that weekend, but there's other things that happen every weekend. Those events are not Dragon Con at all. Just want to clarify that.
Okay, they're not sanctioned.
Money, well, if anybody asks for money, it's not Dragon Con. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, Dragon Con's only selling tickets. That's it. Entry
Dragon Con
passes.
has memberships.
Oh, memberships.
Memberships. And once you're a member, everything's included except for the night at the aquarium. Anything else that's happened in town, I don't know what it is.
So, being media relations, what are some of the cooler experiences where you've gotten to meet people? Like, what experiences where you got to meet somebody that turned out to be great? I don't want to say who did you meet that was famous, but what experience when you got to interview or talk to somebody turned out to be way cooler than you thought than you expected?
So everybody involved at Dragon Con gives you the minor celebrity, but I'll throw out a couple with the Dragon Con celebrities, and then I want to make a point that you're probably not expecting.
All right.
And first, one of my favorite conversations, Ben Browder from Stargate, and before that, Farscape.
Okay.
This guy, we talked for a couple minutes about Stargate, and then I don't know how the topic came up, but we spent about another 5 minutes talking about our favorite clubs in Buckhead in 1996 to 1997, so in that time frame.
Yeah, that's about the same time I was trying to hit those clubs.
That's because that's when those clubs were there. I remember, even if I wasn't going, I would take my Yankee friends down Peachtree Street at 11:45 on a Friday to let them just see the crowds.
Yeah,
it's a city. Go ahead.
I would cruise by in my car because I had like the shiny rims and stuff, and then law enforcement was like 2 laps. That's all you get. 2 laps, and then you got to go park.
That cracks me up. Yeah, no, I myself had a 1986 station wagon. It was an interesting machine, but we would still have fun in it. but so that was one of the encounters because it's not something you expect to talk about with a guest.
Yeah.
Um, uh, a woman named Amber Benson who played a character on Buffy, um, and she also did some other stuff. I think she was on Supernatural a few episodes. One day I started hanging out with her. We started doing emails with each other. So when I showed up, we had kind of a friendly relationship. She was like, Dan's my guy in Atlanta kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you don't become, I'm not becoming friends with these celebrities. I'm well aware this is not what's going on. It's a business relationship. Anyway, she invited me when I needed a place to hide behind her signing table and hang out with her mother. So me and her mom are in the back having the best conversation. And I'm like, I feel really bad. I didn't get the mom's contact information, not in a salacious way, just to maintain a friendship.
Yeah.
Because she lives in Alabama. I'm like, I wish we were still hanging out. But that's some of the things. I mean, I could tell you that on a sad end, Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica used to come to my party every year.
Well, like you have a private party?
I have a party.
Okay. I was just separating. I was separating you. Is it a Dragon Con party or is it a Dan Carroll party?
It is a very small invitee Dragon Con party.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like to mention that I have a party and then keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, but otherwise people would be like, Dan didn't invite me to his party. It's a business party, folks. It's work. It's not.
Yes.
It's
okay.
not me hanging out having fun. So I have a Dragon Con party that it's my party and I still can't drink at it. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you're working. Networking,
I'm working the room.
Greasing the wheels, whatever you're doing it for work.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to convince people of that, but it is. Anyway, so I have this party every year. Richard Hatch comes. Richard Hatch is the first person in my life who, after I got done giving I would give a speech, 3-minute speech or less. I try to make it concise and fun and then get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 year afterwards, Richard Hatch stopped me from coming down and said, everybody give it up for this guy. This guy worked so hard all year for y'all. And it was like really moving because nobody had ever done that. Nobody had ever said, give a round of applause for Dan.
Yeah.
So it was really moving. And then last 2 years ago, Richard passed away in February. And when it came to that Dragon Con where it was the first time we had the party after his, I gave this really good speech. I mean, it was good. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's on video somewhere. And everything went good until I said, and I can't step down from here until I mentioned that, this is our first year without Richard in a long time. So, wherever you are, buddy, we miss you. And I just lost it. I just had my tears were coming down. I was sobbing like some sort of cartoon anime character, and I had to be helped down from the table I was standing on. Yes, I stand on a table once a year. So it was kind of sad and sweet and everything, and then later I said, well, we've gone through this entire Dragon Con. I haven't seen Claire Kramer. And I'd been on CNN with her years before, so I wanted to look her up. And my assistant looks at me and goes, "Oh no, she walked in just as you started crying." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks for ruining my sad moment, making it actually sad." But no, there's a lot, but I think the biggest surprise, I say this probably about once a month. I use the sentence, and it goes like this: when I started this gig, all my friends were computer programmers, and now all my friends are either radio people with jobs or radio people who've left radio. those are the folks that I hang out with, as much as anybody. If I'm going to go to a concert, I'm going to go with Jeff LaBeouf, part of the Radio Labyrinth podcast network.
I love Jeff.
A mutual friend of ours. Yeah, I love Jeff.
Yeah, I just saw him recently. We were at a convention and he stopped by, and for no other reason, he just bought us all lunch. I was like, dude, what? That's pretty awesome. I was just coming to hang out. But Jeff's a good guy. Tim's a good guy. That whole show, I love the Radio Labyrinth.
I am going to get to meet Autumn soon. I'm pretty excited about that. I've never met Autumn. But also, and I don't want to go name dropping Atlanta radio folks.
Yeah.
But there are people that I've known from 99X who, I actually have had lunch with just in August. I've had lunch with two former 99X DJs.
I grew up listening to 99X. I loved Leslie Fram and I can't remember. Like, if you say the names, I could pick them out. But I just remember Leslie Fram was always a part of the morning show every iteration.
That.
So I like 99X.
She ran that. Yeah. Yeah, and Jimmy Barron. I was on one of my first radio interviews with Jimmy and Yvette Monet. I think I said that right. Yeah, Yvette Monet. And she was that was back in Dave FM days.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the regular guys before I got to meet Tim.
Uh-huh.
Tim was the one who got me onto the station on a regular basis. And Larry Wax and, Eric, meeting those guys doing this gig. One of the coolest things I ever did was showed up for the regular guy with Robin the Boy Wonder from the original the Batman TV series. He's
Burt
not
Ward?
the original Robin. Burt Ward. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't call him the original Robin because there was one in the 40s.
Yeah, but no one ever really counts those guys.
You know who does count that? Apparently lawyers. So.
Okay.
A great guy. He raises Great Danes and has created a dog food specifically to help bigger dogs grow older. Who would have thought?
I know. Dude, Great Danes, I think they only live like 7 or 8 years, man.
But he's doubled their age.
Nuh-uh.
So.
That's incredible.
Well,
like
I did not put this under peer review.
Okay.
But
I
I'm going to trust Robin.
Yeah. You'd have to. You'd be like, holy dog shit, Batman.
I might say that, yeah.
Holy rusted metal. Isn't that what Batman, what is this? Chris O'Donnell. That's what he said in the movie that he did. Holy rusted metal, Batman. You're like, oh no.
Yeah. No, look, there's holes in the rusted metal.
Yeah, yes. I know. It was crazy. I thought it was like, all right, you could have kept that one on, could have cut that out of the movie. But it was a terrible movie to begin with.
There are many terrible movies out there, but I love the DC animated cartoons. So
I love I think DC's movies are hit and miss, but their animation is always on point. The stories, the voice acting, the plots, everything about the DC animation, I love them.
I can literally say of the hundreds and hundreds of hours I've watched, I've seen a couple of weak ones, but it's fantastic. And you know what else I enjoy is DragCon. DragCon's a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure out whether we should talk about that or just talk about anything cool.
Dude, if you want to talk about DragonCon, are you wanting to tell me some of the hot guests and hot cool stuff that's going on this year?
So close. I want to talk about the comic folks.
Oh shit, dude, I'm all about it. Let's do that. Because as far as I know, this is the first year that Scout Comics is going to have representation here.
Fantastic. And you can tell me about that.
Yeah.
Because from my point of view, I am an older gentleman. I never got to spend time with Stan Lee at DragonCon because I'm working during DragonCon. So the next best thing would obviously be spending time with Roy Thomas.
All right.
And are you familiar with Roy Thomas?
It does not. He doesn't. Is he going to be there this year? Because then I'll familiarize myself.
Yes, he is.
All right. Well,
So
tell me
when
what.
Stanley and Marvel Comics had hit a point where Stanley wanted to go do business in Europe for a few months, he handed over the reins to Roy Thomas, and Roy Thomas was the of the Marvel we know of, the second editor in chief.
Oh, okay. Of Marvel.
uh,
What was it called? Marvel Enterprises or Marvel Entertainment?
Well, Marvel, yeah, no, Marvel Comics.
Yeah. Well, when I
He,
sent my letter to them trying to be a comic book artist, and I got a rejection letter from Marvel Entertainment. So
and when was that?
95, 94, somewhere in
Oh
there.
gosh, no. Roy Thomas was replaced in the late 70s.
Yeah, I think Tom DeFalco is the one that signed my rejection letter.
Yeah, he came after Shooter.
Yeah. All right.
So
So,
I know the old stuff, but I'll give you so Roy Thomas as a writer created the original Havoc.
right on.
Scott Summers' brother Alex with the great Neil Adams. Loved Neil's work in the 70s. His work on Green Lantern, Green Arrow, is stuff going over. And actually, that run on the X-Men with Roy and Neil was just a little bit before my time. I think I was in first or second grade when that happened, but I got the back issues. Really excited to see him. He also did Conan. That's his other big thing.
That's a good. That's hot.
coming with them,
That's a hot property right now.
yeah, and he was a Conan guy, and he had left Marvel. I remember why Roy left. He left to go take care of the Conan movies.
Oh, okay. He was a producer on
But
those.
the thing, he writer,
Okay.
something writer, yeah. But the other thing he did that I love that many comic book fans forget about was Marvel's black and white comic line that rivaled the Warner comics of Creepy and Eerie.
Oh, I don't
Unknown
know.
World is.
I don't know anything about
Oh,
that.
come over one day and I'll show you my copies of Unknown
Wow.
Worlds of Science Fiction. Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction was black and white, no comic book code. It had an anthology based on an old short story called Slow Glass. So every episode involved people seeing the stories looking through a sheet of slow glass, which was a magic glass that had science fiction properties. So that was some of what Roy did, but also everybody who loves comics knows George Perez and Marv Wolfman revolutionized DC in the 1980s.
Yeah, George Perez was there last year. I love seeing George.
But this time he's bringing Marv with him, which
Yes.
and the two of them together are hilarious.
So for the comic book fans, for me, this is a big one. Marv Wolfman is going to be there, and Keith Giffen. I'm a big Lobo fan. So Keith Giffen created Lobo in the Omega Men #3, and Marv Wolfman was I think he was the editor-in-chief at DC at the time. So those two guys together, I'm going to get some Lobo stuff signed.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
That is
Who else
awesome.
is going to be there? But I met Marv Wolfman, I think probably like 4 or 5 months ago at a Huntsville show, the Huntsville Expo.
So in the newer creators who are the current creators, there are so many. I want to say there's 126.
Oh wow!
So I'm going to stay away from picking and choosing any of those, and we can talk about other guests we have at DragonCon in other categories.
All right, well let's do that. Shoot me one.
Shoot you one. How about from iZombie? Nearly the entire cast of iZombie.
My
Of
wife
regulars,
loves that show.
Do you watch it?
I think I watched the first couple of episodes. I've started to get a little bit confused between what's iZombie and what the Santa Clarita Diet is. But I think the iZombie is where they use the hot sauce, right? Like they have to season.
That's it.
I thought that was the one. And that's based on a comic book as well, right?
Sure is, yeah.
I thought so.
Vertigo label.
But it's a fun, lighthearted look at zombies. So
Until it isn't.
Yeah, yes. But for the most part, it's like 60-40 lighthearted.
Yeah, it goes for the laugh when it can. One of the interesting things about that show, and this is not an iZombie interview, but it's one of my favorite things about the show, is created by a guy named Rob Thomas, who created Veronica Mars.
Oh, yes.
And at the end of the third season, they brought Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 onto the show. And I don't want to spoil it for you. So
Okay.
I won't tell you
Well, when I first saw that Rob Thomas's name, when I watched the iZombie with my wife, I was like, "There's no way the Matchbox 20 guy is writing this zombie stuff." And it popped up, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it turns out it was a different Rob Thomas, but I thought it was crazy. Like I was like, "There's no way that singer guy is writing this zombie stuff."
You never know. Do you remember a show called Freaks and Geeks?
I do remember that show. It was only like one season.
It was one season, and it ended with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I did not like that.
But there was a main character named Sam Weir. I can never remember his real name, but the guy who played Sam Weir went on to play the psychologist on Bones. And then he said, heck with acting, and wrote the last two Spider-Man movies.
Oh, right on.
So, and produced. He wrote and produced, I'm pretty sure produced, the last two Spider-Man movies. So you never knew where somebody's going to end up.
Yeah, it's weird how a lot of those guys, if you look at that Freaks and Geek cast, the main girl, I forgot her name, but she's Hawkeye's wife.
Linda Cardellini.
Yes, and Martin Starr is now the teacher of he's Spider-Man's teacher.
Right, because Sam Weir got him the job. I don't know if that's true, but yes. But he's also legitimately on his own in not just the Marvel properties, but Silicon Valley. And I feel Silicon Valley is a nerd show just because of the topic.
I love Silicon Valley. I love his character, his satanic character in Silicon Valley.
Canadian.
Yeah, that is that's one show that I can't get enough of, and I'm ready for the new season. Like I'm ready for Ballers. Ballers is getting ready to come out. But let's get back to some more Dragon Con guests. So you got some iZombie people going to be there. Who else is going to be there?
So I'm going to throw out, we're having a big Farscape reunion with Rebecca Riggs, Anthony Simcoe, Lanny John Tupu, Gigi Everly, always amazing, Brian Henson, Rodney O'Brien, and of course, the previously mentioned Ben Browder.
Yeah, I never watched Farscape. Like for some reason, space sci-fi didn't do it for me. So I missed the boat on Star Trek. I missed the boat on Battlestar Galactica. None of those, the Farscape and Stargate, like none of that stuff really hit with me.
See, I'm a Stargate, Battlestar Galactica guy. Love my Star Wars. Love my Star Wars. I am familiar with Star Trek. Very happy to welcome George Takei and William Shatner.
Yeah, I saw that Bill Shatner's going to be there again this year. I know he was there like 4 or 5 years ago. Had a line wrapped around the building.
Well, he's a guy who made this famous, all the way back to the 70s, doing these conventions when nobody else knew that these conventions were there.
Hey, have you seen this movie called Fanboys?
Describe it, and I'll tell you.
All right, Fanboys. It's like, I think it takes place like when Star Wars Episode 1 is getting ready to release, and one of their friends is dying, and they're going to go break into Skywalker Ranch so that his friend can see it before he dies.
Yeah, that's the one with the Jar Jar Binks tattoo across Seth Rogen's back.
Yes, here comes the dark side, the dark side. Dude, that movie is so underrated. I wish more people would watch that movie. It is so awesome.
Well, I'm going to match you with another one starring William Shatner as himself. have you ever seen Free Enterprise with Eric
No,
McCormick?
I have not.
It's a group of nerds trying to make a movie about themselves, and they want Shatner to be in it, but Shatner will only agree to be in it if they hang out with him.
Oh, wow. This sounds. How long ago did this come out?
Long ago that Eric McCormick had never made Will and Grace, so
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't,
So we're
I don't know
probably
how
talking
old.
like mid 90s, late 90s.
Oh yeah. My standards for I was just having a discussion with one of my young friends. My standards for movies duration is different than most people because I accept movies that were made 20 years before I was born as being perfectly reasonable and relevant.
Uh-huh.
So a 30-year-old movie is not old to me, nor is The Maltese Falcon. It's just perfect.
Well, I actually met what is her name? Virginia. She was on Farscape.
Hey,
Virginia.
Hay.
Yes, I met her and had her sign some artwork that I did of her character from Farscape. That's my
fantastic.
only connection to Farscape. She was a blue alien lady.
Well, Gigi Edgerly has been to my party, and she's a performer. So
Like a performer, like a belly dancer or something, or a stand-up comedian.
no, like a band.
Oh, okay,
She's a musician.
okay.
Yeah, I guess you got to be more specific with that, with some terms. But she's in a band. So she's a great performer. She's
Ooh,
really
why don't
good.
you tell me about some of the wrestlers that are going to be there?
Well, I can tell you about two and ask everybody to look up the rest on their own. First, we have the most recent announcement, Jake the Snake Roberts,
Yes.
who is a wrestler. And then we have Dustin Rhodes, formerly known as
Goldust.
Dustbin. Goldust.
Goldust.
Thank you.
I met him at a show probably about 2 or 3 months ago. What a nice dude, man. He took pictures
That's
with
what I
me.
hear.
Such a great guy. And you know what? He's still actively wrestling with his brother's organization and still putting on great matches. And he's like 55 years old or something, or 50 years old. I think he just had his 50th birthday.
I believe you're going to see some fine wrestling from him at Dragon Con.
Ooh, they actually put on matches?
Wait, you don't know about Dragon Con wrestling?
Sir, I go to Dragon Con,
I-
I sell my stuff, and I leave Atlanta as soon as possible and go back home to Marietta.
This is really good. Now, I love Marietta myself. I used to live off Whitlock.
Oh,
So,
that's rich Marietta. I'm hood Marietta.
Not quite. Someday ask me about that when we're not talking about Dragon Con.
All right.
So
So there's a wrestling event Saturday night, I guess?
the wrestling event Thursday night. Thursday night in Centennial 2 and 3, and it's Dragon Con wrestling. It's been going on well now over 20 years, at least 20 years.
Now, how do I get to go watch that? What do I need to do?
You need a Dragon Con membership.
I'm a vendor. Does that count?
You have yes. You should have your vendor badge by then. And if not, let me know. I will talk to Jamie, and we'll see what we can do about make sure you can see wrestling if you want to. But it is the most fun event. It used to be on Fridays, and it used to be my go-to. Unfortunately, I am now busy on Thursday. A lot of folks who volunteer at Dragon Con, and I'm a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of folks that volunteer, their work is all Friday and Saturday. And my work is all Thursday and Friday morning. And the one thing I would recommend is if you're listening and you love DragonCon, make a point of watching us on the morning shows.
Oh, you're talking about like the morning news and early morning news stuff?
Yeah, we may be on, see Atlanta CBS 46. We might be on Fox 5 with Paul Milliken. I would not expect either of those things to disappoint you.
That's pretty awesome. And they also cover the parade on Saturday mornings. One or two channels do. I know not everybody does.
It's Channel 6 CW. Atlanta CW. Wait, you said? Yeah, it's CW.
Yeah.
I can never remember whether it's the WB or CW because sometimes these years blend in. So it is the CW, and we cover it both, and they cover it both in the morning live and in the evening during prime time. They show the tape.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of good costumes out there. 3,200 customers marching a mile down Peachtree Street. It's a lot of fun.
I used to, before, probably 5-6 years ago, I used to just go just to watch the parade and just look at all that because I couldn't stand to be around that many people with my anxiety and stuff. So it's just a matter of watching the parade and going home because I couldn't do the crowds as well as I'd handle them now.
Sure, and the parade is a great way to start. The parade is an absolute great way to start if you've never been to DragonCon before. I also recommend don't be afraid to come down for one day. Get a one-day pass. We now do something we didn't do before, which is right after the parade, we sell one-day passes on the street outside the Marriott.
Oh, dude, that's so awesome. That used to be one of my hang-ups was one of us would have to go stand in line to retrieve our membership passes while the rest of them watched the parade, because that way by the time he was done getting his pass, and so now that right after the parade, someone's going to be walking down the street, taking your money and handing you a pass right then?
Well, there's going to be a table, so it's not quite, hey, buddy, you want to buy a pass? But it'll be on the street. And one thing I should point out for those people who heard Bryan's last comment, we actually eliminated the lines about 2013.
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
And I remember – no, hold on. But there's a story here, which is I met with a local news reporter who was going to film the lines live on the air.
Yeah.
And the doors open and the lines were gone in 35 minutes. All the lines. Everybody who wanted a badge had a badge in 35 minutes.
Wow.
Compared to the older days.
Yes.
And she starts yelling at me. Where are my lines? What am I going to show? How am I going to make – I promised them lines. And I'm like, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah. You should have called ahead. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that DragonCon has rectified that, because that was definitely a big thorn in my side as a consumer, that I just didn't want to be in line for an hour and a half and miss stuff just to get my one-day pass. So,
well, the answer to that is obviously go for all 4 days.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm kidding.
I was a family
come for one day, come for 4 days.
A family of 4 or a family of 3, that can get quite expensive on a ramen noodle budget.
Sure, and that's how I ended up. That is how I ended up, Bryan, volunteering.
Yeah, I guess.
I had a daughter in college. It was costing me as much as a mortgage payment to pay her college every month. So my wife's like, "You're not spending that much money," and I'm like, "But what if I volunteered?" And it's a good experience. Volunteer. We run on volunteers. 2,500 volunteers needed each year. Everything from electrical wiring to, and you do have to have experience with electrical wiring. They don't just let anybody play with electrical wires.
Yeah,
public relations.
Yeah, and there's also people that just sit on people, right? That like the ones that sit with the guest and make sure they don't need water or something like that.
Handlers, yes.
Yes. Now, is that something you have to graduate to?
They like to make sure that you have had experience working around guests, working around DragonCon. When you volunteer at DragonCon, it is an immersive experience. even when you're going home at the end of the night, if you're not staying on site, it still stays with you. And, time runs together, time dilation is just this incredible feeling of, I don't know what to explain it, you compare it to, but, anytime you can think of where you have fun times and time dilation, you take it from there.
Right.
But it's fantastic. It's a team. It's a family. It's probably the thing that I like to take away most about DragonCon is that we are a family, and that's a growing family. It grows every year. Largest fraternity in the world. DragonCon. We get new members. We connect across the board. One of the things that really interests me almost more than anything is when I come across people on my Facebook page that I met through DragonCon who are friends with people I knew 20 years ago, who I'm becoming friends with again through DragonCon.
That's awesome.
So it's a lot of fun. 5 hotels, a lot of fun time. Labor Day weekend. Come on down, folks.
Yeah, it's 4
Brian,
full
I
days.
think I'm running out of steam.
Yeah, I hear you. We're gonna wind this down. If somebody wanted to find out more information about how they could volunteer or what the full lineup is, what website should they go to?
www.dragoncon.org, and also check out Twitter. They do take volunteers on site. The one thing I got to warn you is if you're a volunteer on site, you only get a badge. You don't get a weekend badge. You get 1 badge a day just to make sure you don't run away.
Yeah.
And even in my department where I require people to be fairly professional, in my department I've had people get a badge, work a few hours, and disappear and not be able to find them.
That stinks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for all the information on DragonCon, man. And if anybody listening, I will be on the 4th floor of America's Mart up in Artist Alley selling all of my comic books alongside some other great people. So thank you, Dan, for being on the show.
Thank you for everything you do for your fans and for DragonCon, Brian.
No problem, sir. And for everybody listening, keep being good people and stay creative.
It's almost